Hello Mavericks, this is Imri and welcome to today's currency recap. It is Thursday, June the 6th. So today, as always, we'll be doing a review of the trading day. We'll be taking a look at any meaningful news. We'll be examining the broader equity markets. We're going to take a look at commodity markets as well. We're then going to do some technical analysis on the major indices, followed by some currency basket analysis, and then seeing if there are any major news events to close out the week. Spoiler alert, there is a big one coming up tomorrow. And then, of course, we're going to take a look at a few potential trade setups and opportunities. Okay, so with that in mind, let's get right to it. In this currency recap, we will be using some advanced technical analysis. We believe technical analysis is the fundamental skill of every profitable currency trader. Maverick Currencies is currently hiring serious technical traders for a trader position. Traders will trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits generated. So if you're a technical trader with a technically based trading system, we would love to meet you. So please click the application link in the description below this video. Now let's break down today's market action. Starting things off with some market analysis. So there is some pretty big news today. Meme stock mania continues. GameStop is up 40% today, which is insane. I mean, we've all seen this movie before, and I think we all know how it's going to end. But in the meantime, it's going to be a roller coaster ride. In currency news, markets are waiting for non-farm payroll report numbers tomorrow. And of course, we had the ECB, the European Central Bank, cut rates today, which is hot off the heels of the rate cut from the Bank of Canada. So we'll have to wait and see how the currency markets will react to all of this. Tomorrow's employment report will certainly be a volatility catalyst. So moving on now to how things have performed. Stocks pretty much flat on the day, gold up, oil up quite a bit. Decent recovery there in oil after a significant downturn over the last several days. Crypto more or less flat on the day. Also, taking a look at fiat currencies, it is the Swiss franc that was the biggest winner today, and our biggest losers include the dollar and the pound. The yen also had a decent showing, and so did the Australian dollar, but the euro, the loonie, and the New Zealand dollar pretty much flat on the day. Taking a look at cryptos here, Ethereum led the way lower, followed by Bitcoin Cash, then Bitcoin, and finally Litecoin. Not what I would call huge major moves here in the crypto markets, but a down day nonetheless. Taking a look at our weekly outlook here, well, we're back to a +3. That slope on that 50-period moving average is ever so slightly positive, and the market is above both moving averages as well. So if we're taking a look at this chart here, you can see we've broken out to a new high. Typically, when that happens, we will get some kind of a pullback, and with tomorrow's non-farm payroll reports being in focus, we might see that pullback tomorrow. But as of now, it still looks like we are headed higher in the stock market. And switching over to the economic calendar, so we can see here that tomorrow we have a slew of employment data coming out of Canada and the US. So there's definitely going to be some volatility there in the loonie and the US dollar for sure. Switching gears now into, as we move into some currency analysis here, we're going to take a look at velocity, which is a slightly different measure, right, in terms of how we determine which currencies we want to trade. We want to trade things that are moving. So we want to pair things up that are on the positive side of the velocity spectrum with things that are on the negative side, and avoid the things that are in the middle. So right now, like the euro, the yen, the pound, the Kiwi dollar, not all that exciting, but the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, and the Swissy are particularly interesting from a velocity standpoint. So just keep that in mind as we head over to TradingView and take a look at some of these currencies and how they're doing. So taking a look at the Japanese yen, first of all, we can see that, well, we've broken through this trend line and then given back quite a bit of those gains, and now we're chopping around. The yen is unlikely to stay sideways for long, and it just doesn't really feel as though this downtrend in the yen is over. So eventually, I'd be looking for fresh lows, but until then, there is some structural there is some support here that's been coming into the market. So we're on a daily chart. As we drop to the 1 hour chart, I'm going to take a look at something interesting here, traders. Okay, so you can see that we've tried to push through this area of relatively minor support, pretty much once yesterday, once today, and another time today. And that also lines up with this prior peak from June 3rd. So long as this area holds here, I think we could see the yen try and trade back towards where we were trading, on Tuesday, which was significantly higher when the yen had a really good day. So just keep that in mind. So long as we stay above this area of support, I wouldn't rule out a slightly stronger yen, but given the trend, I'd say any rally in the yen should be sold, until we have more clear evidence that this downtrend is over. All right, next up is the US dollar. All right, just waiting for TradingView to switch gears here. Okay, so the US dollar has done what it was kind of supposed to do from a technical standpoint. So we've broken down through this trend line, consolidated here. We had this little up, down, up sequence, then we broke down. We'll see what tomorrow's NFP brings, but you can see here, if I extend this line horizontally, we're smack dab on support right now. Now, it's unlikely that we're just going to hug this line all through the overnight trading session. It'll be very interesting to see if we can break below it or if we bounce a little bit higher. I think the likely direction for the dollar is still to the downside, however, even if we do get a brief bounce from tomorrow's NFP. That's just my personal bias. All right, moving on now to the Swiss franc, which has seen a surge of strength over the last few trading sessions. So you can see we're now in this former area of resistance, and this is where I expect the Swiss franc party to at least come to a temporary pause, and I'm looking for the Swissy to actually start pulling back. On the other hand, if we break out of this resistance area, then we can look for higher in the Swiss franc. But I think the risk is starting to skew to the downside there. And the euro is just not doing a whole lot of anything today, despite the rate cut by the ECB. I really think that means the market's just focused on what the Fed is going to do, which means tomorrow's employment numbers are going to be key. But you can see we're trying to break below this trend line. Now, does that mean, that if the dollar's weak, the euro is going to be strong? Not necessarily. You can everything's on a relative basis, remember. So even if the euro breaks down and the dollar's breaking down, if the dollar's breaking down at a faster rate than the euro-dollar currency pair will still go up. However, I don't like the idea of trading two relatively weak currencies, so we have to wait and see. If the euro does break down alongside the dollar, then euro-dollar is not something I'll be very interested in. On the other hand, if the dollar can break down and the euro starts trading higher through this resistance area, now that becomes a trade worth paying attention to. Right? We just want to see some kind of dislocation. We want to see one currency that's clearly strong and the other one being clearly weak. So the pound broke out of this purple shaded resistance area, and we're now trying to see if it will serve as valid support. Overall, I still like the idea of looking for higher in the pound. Next up is the Canadian dollar. Okay, so this one's been doing pretty much exactly what the technical script has been calling for, and this was a key level that we've broken below. I think the next key level are the lows from December 2023, so still further down to go in the big picture when it comes to the Canadian dollar. Next up is the Australian dollar, and we're trading inside this bear flag here. I'm still looking for a breakout higher in the Aussie dollar, pretty straightforward. And the New Zealand dollar has been relatively strong as well. You can see here we got a failed breakout to the downside here, and instead we popped to the upside instead. So when a failed sell setup turns into a bullish development, that makes me want to focus on further upside. So what's the next set of targets in the New Zealand dollar? I'm looking at the highs from late January of last year. So quite a bit of runway to go in the New Zealand dollar. I think that's going to be an interesting trade, especially if commodity prices start ticking up. All right, Mavericks, that's it for me. In conclusion, always make sure to play relative strength and weakness, continue paying attention to proper position sizing, and as always, follow the trading plan. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.